Alright, yo, we back with another Solo Leveling Arise video. It's been quite some time since the last one. I think the last video I did was for like Zenless Zone Zero. And I've just been kind of chilling, doing my own thing, playing the game, getting the stuff I need to build characters, stuff like that. The usual typical thing that you do in your daily life of solo leveling. And I just figured, okay, well, the balance changes are here, so I might as well just talk about them and then see how these changes will be and if they're impactful or not to the character. So yeah, I mean, we'll just go over them, and then of course there's also like some rune changes as well, but we're mainly going to be focusing on the character changes and if they're going to actually be impactful. So first up, we have Choi. Choi is the very first character to get these one of the balance changes on these current update or patch notes, whatever you want to call it, right? So just judging by like at first glance, it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything that noticeable for the character. As you may have known, Choi isn't used that often for many things. In most cases, when you do use him, it's just for the defense down, nothing relatively special. He does suffer from the fact that he can't crit, so his main ways of damage is just attack and then of course damage increase, which does kind of put his value a lot less than other characters because eventually you'll have like a diminishing return on how much attack you can have, right? Because there's like once you keep getting percentages and stuff like that, eventually you're not gaining too much, but there's obviously other characters as well that could boost attack, in a support setting. So it's like, do you really need that much attack, right? He gets so much attack for no reason. I feel like he should have just been able to create. If he was able to create, he'd be so much better as a character. Then obviously for his advancement tier 5, when you get 5 dupes into him, it changes how fast he recovers power gauge from 0.5 to 0.8. I don't think this is too much of a needed change. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if you have a proper team and you have someone like Min, for example, on your team who does provide power gauge recovery, or if you're using someone like Parkeejin who can also recover power gauge for your team, this is just unneeded. It's unnecessary. In most cases, even when I'm not using those characters on those teams, I still find myself relatively getting back to my old quick enough without needing to have power gauge increases. So, and that's just with the 0.5%, every second. So I don't really feel like this is needed. I feel like this is an unneeded change, but I guess whatever. It makes it easier, right? Then you also have when in team fight mode, the cooldown of End of Days, which is his ultimate, passes 1.5 times faster and recharges the power gauge by 0.4% every second, which is really good. Now your ult is gonna be coming back a lot quicker. You're gonna be doing a tons of damage, obviously, because it's from his ult. But other than that, I still don't think this is gonna be anything crazy. Like, yes, you're gonna be able to do more damage with your ult and all that because it'll come back faster. But again, not being able to create just kind of lowers the value of the overall character. So I don't know. Well, I'll have to test the character myself and see how they perform. But just from first appearance and like obviously what do we see on paper, it just doesn't seem that good. Next up, we have Lim Tae Yu. So Lim Tae Yu is kind of like a Dark Breaker type character, can do DPS obviously. So let's see what they kind of do with this character. So deals damage equal to 50% was the original, and now it's 60% for per arrow. That's alright. It's not too bad. It's okay. You might not notice it too much, but it's 10% more. I'm not gonna really complain about that. I kind of wish they kind of bumped it up a little bit more. Just 10% is not gonna really feel that impactful. I'm not even gonna hold you. Then for his third dupe, and that's just from his passive, but his third dupe is when the user uses shoot and maneuver, it grants the magic boost effect cooldown 20 seconds. This is actually super nice, just due to the fact that now you're going to be able to just use your first skill, shoot and maneuver, and then of course you're going to be doing more core attack damage. And keep in mind, when you use shoot and maneuver, it allows you to use your core attack, so this is just an overall nice boost to the character in terms of DPS damage. This is a W change for Lin Taegyu. Next up, we have my favorite character in the game, Hwang Dong-soo. So let's see what they kind of did to them. Doesn't look like they did much, but that's obviously in hindsight. When you actually understand the character, it might seem like a little bit. So let's talk about the before, and then we'll talk about the after for the third dude. Every time Greed Scavenger is used, obtains the Madness effect. So if you aren't aware, Greed Scavenger is your second skill for Huang. That should be your E on PC, and then of course if you're on, you know, mobile or whatever, you know, it's just your second skill. This is the one that you're able to hold down and charge up. The problem with this is you could get your madness stacks, and you're able to stack it, I believe, up to 5 times, and then it's very difficult to get the amount of stacks that you need, especially when you can only use, you know, only gain it from like your greed scavenger, which kind of sucks. But now they added it each time the user uses urge to kill or greed scavenger, it grants the madness effect. So like I just said, it could stack up to 5 times. Your urge to kill, which is your first skill, this you basically has 3 stocks, so you're able to use it 3 times. If you use your greed scavenger first, use your urge to kill 3 times, and then use your greed scavenger again, you're gonna basically get your full 5 stacks, and then you can just go straight into your ult. So you'll have full stacks of madness, which increases defense penetration if I'm not misremembering, and also increases your defense, which means you're gonna do more damage, especially for your ult. It's gonna be big nuke damage. I kind of wish one of the changes here for Huang Dongsun was changes to his ult. I feel like his ult actually needs a buff in terms of, at least in range. The damage is fine because your 4th and 5th loop give you a lot of damage, but I feel like increasing the range or giving it like a time stop, because it's one of those continuous ults where they continuously hit and the boss is able to move out of it, rather than like, you know, other characters where, you know, Alicia uses her ult and then it's instant, but you know, the boss is unable to move, stuff like that. So it does kind of stop him a little bit and kind of hinders him, especially if the enemy does have like some iframes at certain, you know, HP thresholds. So it's kind of like, I kind of wish that's what they changed, but this is actually a good change. The tier 3 change, a gentle touch from his exclusive weapon. This is completely irrelevant. Like 1% more is just complete. This is stupid. I legit don't know why they even bothered with this. Like nobody's gonna be like, wow, I noticed such a big change in damage. This is useless. This is completely pointless, unnecessary change. Like for real. They really should have just fixed up and touched up on the ult. That's like the biggest issue with the character at the moment. And then obviously gaining madness stacks, which they fixed. And then obviously, you know, getting hit while doing his skills. They also gave him super armor from the previous buff, so they fixed that as well. And he's almost a perfectly fine character. I think he's currently a very strong DPS character. Has high potential for being the top 3. I just don't think people give him enough credit. Next up, we have Wu Jinchul, a character that has a much needed amount of buffs. Like they buffed him last time and he still needed buffs. And we'll see after these if he's still going to need more buffs. I'm pretty sure he still is, but we'll see. So they buff pretty much everything on his kit. So we're going to start off with core attacks. Core attacks is going to be important because you're going to be attacking rapidly and dashing and all that stuff a lot. You're probably going to get that. Grant super armor while using this skill. Not bad, not bad. You get super armor. Boom. Not bad. You won't get interrupted. Next up, Serious Punch. Ultimate skill. Movement after the skill usage will be improved. I don't think that matters too much. I ain't even gonna lie to you. If movement gave you some sort of like damage bonus, then it'd be important. But I don't think anybody really cared for the movement bonus, right? Like, what? Like, who even cares about this? You're trying to maximize your damage. You don't need more movement speed. You need more damage, right? Like, that's the problem with the characters. He just doesn't deal enough damage. And his break is kind of like mediocre for a break character. Then we have the first loop. So the first loop, they're basically going to add... They're basically going to remove the fact that, you know, it increases the cooldown by 1 second for... I believe those for the dashes. Oh, no, Meditation of Power. That's his second skill, right? They're basically going to completely remove the cooldown penalty. So that's going to be very good, right? You don't got to worry about anything now. Easy. Perfect. That's so much better. It's so much better. Now it's going to be super impactful. You might not notice it at first, but it's there. Trust me. You won't know, but trust me, it's actually going to be more impactful than you think. Next up, we're going to have his third dupe. So the third dupe is when the user uses dash, extreme evasion, or judgment. That's good call. Good call to also include judgment. It also decreases the cooldown of Meditation of Power, and then of course Iron Fist, which is really good because now you have a fourth option to actually reduce your cooldown. So you have 4 different ways to actually reduce your cooldown. Aside from just dashes, you can reduce it from other means. I think just removing it from dashes kind of felt like a little bit wonky, kind of like, you know, diminished his value a little bit, because now you kind of just, even though his playstyle is dashes, I feel like now you were kind of like forcibly using the dashes just to try to use your Iron Fist, which kind of sucked. But now you also have Judgment, which is also going to be added onto it. So now you have a little bit of an extra option, so you don't always have to force dashes. I mean, you probably still are because you're going to try to maximize damage, but now you have another option to further improve your damage. When the user uses Judgment, it activates the user's basic passive and enhances the effect. The user's damage increase effect enhances to 35%. This is tremendous. We will see how much damage this actually provides for the character, and then the duration is only going to be 7 seconds. But overall, that seems really good from the third dupe, though. Third dupe. But do keep in mind, we did get one, and I believe another one for free when you did start the game, so you should already have him no matter what, because he's basically a given character. Next up, we have his exclusive weapon. So basically, he's going to increase damage dealt to the target by a percentage for 5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So basically, instead of 3 seconds, it's going to be 5 seconds, so it's going to have a higher duration. So it's easier to stack them and have the maximum damage output, because the issue that you had before is you only had it for 3 seconds, and when you use your meditation of power, in the time that you use your meditation power, you'd use your 3 meditation of powers, and you basically by then, if you were to try to go into your ult or something like that, you basically the duration would have already been gone from the 3 seconds, and you would already lose one of your meditation of powers. So realistically, I think 5 seconds is a little bit better. You have more leeway time to, you have more flexibility and able to change, extra stuff in between, right? And this is just straight off the beginning, right? Like you could have a 1 dupe or 5 dupes or no dupes. It's always going to be like this, right? It's always going to be 5 seconds. That's not bad. Next up, we have Baek Yunho. Again, I don't know why they're buffing this character. This character was already insane before. People might not know how insane he is because there's not really too much content to use him, that is weak to light. But when we do get one, you're going to see how powerful he is, and I feel like they're going to tone him down once that does happen, because he's going to actually be really insane. So they're basically going to increase the duration of 10 seconds to 12 seconds for the defense down. That's really nice. Having more duration doesn't make him like super powerful, but like it does give you more flexibility for obviously your whole entire team. You have that extra duration for defense. So it's still the same thing, except you just have more flexibility and more extended time. You have your tier 3, so this is going to be really strong. This is one of his like important dupes where it provides him White Flame, and the White Flames gives him so much extra damage, it's insane. So now, not only will his Bottomless Pit give him White Flames, but his White Flail Game Kick will also give him White Flames. So basically, he has two sources to get White Flames, not just one. So you're not always forced to just use Bottomless Pit to try to get, the White Flames. You can also, now you're basically able to choose which one you want to use, right? So now you could also use the White Flame Gale Kick, and then, you also get it from that. So that's really good. Then we have his QTE. So his QTE Damnation is basically, I don't know. Okay, so I'm assuming they're just buffing the damage or something like that. I don't know. It says the corresponding effect will be buffed. However, there will be no changes in the description. So text is going to be the same. Deals medium break damage. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be some, modifier increases. MLR, I completely don't understand I guess they just wanted more damage out of it. I don't know the reasoning for this. I feel like there's still a couple of other things they could have changed, but like maybe making the stacks a little bit more accessible and easier to get, because obviously if you're switching rotations faster, it's very hard to get the stacks that you're trying to get, or some sort of way to get your ultimate faster, because that's like all that really matters. That, and then of course your 1, which you use for cleaving and out mobs while you're doing like battlefield times and stuff like that. Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to complain. It's extra damage, whatever. We got Silvermane Baek Yunho. I'm surprised we're not getting any nerfs. So far, it's just been buffs. We got Silvermane Baek Yunho. So as you know, he's one of the limited characters that had released about like 3 characters ago or something like that. Before Fisher, before Meilin. Before Fisher, before CHAE, and before Alicia as well. This was the second limited character to release. Let's see what kind of changes they do to him. So basically, this is just without any dupes or anything. This is just what he's going to have passively. He inflicts the Curse of the Magic Beast to targets immune to bleed, and then Curse of the Magic Beast deals damage equal to 50% of Silvermane Baek Yunho's max HP for every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. This is a W change. The biggest issue with him is when you would try to do not Battlefield of Chaos. If you were to do Power of Destruction, the enemy is immune to bleed almost any of the bosses that you would fight, like any of the hard, difficult bosses, like Vulcan stuff like that, they were all immune to bleed. And what ends up happening is he loses a big portion of his damage because the enemy is not bleeding, right? So now they added another way to where he can curse the enemies who are immune to bleed, right? Because bleed is OP because these bosses that have immune to bleed, they have a lot of HP, and since how bleed factors and scales off of the enemy, you do a ton of damage for no freaking reason. So it's like, yeah, they made another way for him to actually still be able to deal damage despite the enemy being immune to bleed, which is really good for his kit overall. I think this is an insane and tremendous change for him. This makes him more viable in like a lot of content now. Let's continue. I'm pretty pleased with this, especially considering it's just passiveness. You don't have to worry about getting dupes or anything. You'll just have that straight off the beginning. Good for his core kit. Next up, increases the damage of base attack and core attack by 20% when dealing damage to bleed. So again, he would do all this extra damage to enemies who are bleeding, but if the enemies are unable to be bled, then the problem arises where he can't get that increased damage. So he was a little bit lackluster in stuff like power of destruction and whatnot, things like that I had mentioned before, right? But now he's able. It's also while he has Curse of the Magic Beast as well, debuffed on the opponent, which is really good because now he can also have that his attack buff bonus. So that's really good, right? Basic attack and core attack damage is going to be by 20%. He's just going to do a ton more damage now. So this is a good change. He's definitely going to bump up a little bit on the tier list because he is going to be doing more damage. Let's see how he performs though. Next up, we have again for his third dupe. This also kind of drew back from him when you're doing Power of Destruction again. I don't want to mention it again, but I have to. It's just him not being able to bleed certain targets kind of like made his damage output drop tremendously. With these changes, the Curse of the Magic Beast, this is definitely going to make him viable in all those contents that he wasn't before. So, good change. Maybe he'll be the best. Like, maybe he'll be a really good dark DPS that people will actually, like to use now, right? We'll see. We don't know when we're going to get another dark DPS. It's going to be a while from now. So, we're going to have to make do with him. So, I hope with this change, he is actually a lot better than he was previously. Next up, we have CHAE. I don't know why they are buffing the character after they nerfed the character. Well, I mean, the nerf wasn't that big, but like, it's like, why are you nerfing it again? Like, I guess now you kind of finally realize that Alicia is so strong that's like now other characters just need buffs to kind of like reach her. Yeah, it's just like they're all just trying to scale off of Alicia, trying to even them out, right? Because I don't think they want to nerf Alicia too much because then people are gonna complain about it. So they're trying to like buff up all the characters, and I think they're gonna kind of use her as the ceiling. So buffs up the damage of Dancer. This is actually gonna make her damage output insane. So realistically, I don't think she really needed that buff because she was already doing a lot of damage. I would say that Huang was actually very close to her in damage. Like if you had a built Huang, he was actually very close to her in damage. But I think with this she's just gonna blow him out the water now completely. Just because once you crit, you're gonna be spamming the Dancer, right? Like this is not just a 30% increase. This is a lot more than just a 30% increase because you're doing multiple hits on the Dancer. On top of that, your first dupe grants you super armor while you have Waltz of the Sword. So that's gonna be kind of nutty, right? You're gonna have super armor while it's active, so it's like you're not gonna get stopped while you're using your Dancer. So that's kind of nuts. Now you don't have to worry about getting stopped in the middle of Dancer and then losing all your DPS because obviously that's your main form of DPS. W, that's gonna make her even better than she was already. She was already good, but now she's even better. Then we're gonna have for her fifth dupe, the damage and crit hit rate of Light of the End increases by 20% and 2% respectively, depending on how many instances of Dancer effect has been applied, stacking up 5 times. I mean, that's just insane. So not only are you getting damage, you're also getting crit hit rate. It's like, what the hell? It's like what? Are you kidding me, bro? So you're always gonna crit, right? With this, it's like I don't know when the Light of End is just not gonna crit. I feel like you're always gonna crit, and then you're always gonna get that 2% crit hit rate and 2% damage, right? Depending on how many instances of Dancer has been applied as well. That's just insane. That's basically like 30%, right? So I think that's a really good change. It doesn't look like much from like at first glance, but that's really big. Wow, the changes to her is insane. Yeah, I feel like these changes for all these characters so far, really good. I just feel like the one that was kind of lackluster, realistically, was kind of like Choi's. I still feel like the fact that because he can't crit, just kind of he just loses a lot of value. And then the only other one that was kind of like subpar was Limbs. The only the good change was the one on his third dupe. Granted, you have 3 dupes. If not, he's still gonna feel kind of like shit, right? So, yep. And then obviously Emma's, because Emma's was just like one little change, but she didn't really need much to be changed. She was really flexible. She was really good. There wasn't really anything bad with her kit. Uh, Although I really wish it was just much easier to manage your stacks of absorption and exhaustion, but other than that, perfect. Then let's go to the runes real quick. Uh, Vile Strike is just basically going to increase the damage. This is actually going to be really good. I believe there's the Vile Strike that does increase damage to elites and bosses, and that is one of the ones I use. So with this is going to be a lot more damage, so I can't wait to see how much damage I'm going to be doing. But it says internal wounds. I'm assuming it has to be this specific Vital Strike. I'll see. I'll have to look at it in game if that's the one that I'm using currently. Then we got Mutilate, and then we got the Phantom version and the Strike version of it. Let's look at that real quick. I'm not going to go over it too much. Then we got the Dagger Toss Bombardment. Got more damage increases. Then we got Double Slash, got Multiply and Flame Slash. Not going to really use Flame Slash too much. Multiply, not bad. It's pretty decent. Don't know how many times you use it. Got Vertical Arts increase for Gale, Reap, and Cyclone Explosions. Then we got Rush, Illusion, Pummel, Multi-Strike. Those are also getting buffs. And then we got Commander's Touch, Finisher, and Liberation also getting buffed. So if you have any of these runes, you can just pause the video, look over it, see what you have, and then, decide for yourself if they are good changes or not, whatever. If they're good for you or not. It all depends. I'm not going to go over every rune because, they're all situational. You use them in certain situations, and then when you are using them in those situations, they're obviously going to perform better than other weapons. Other runes. So it's like you just kind of like got to see for it yourself. But yeah, other than that, that's basically going to be all the balance changes, if you will. Balance buffs, nerfs. Not really any nerfs, just straight buffs. I don't think there needs to be any nerfs at the moment. So yeah, that's going to basically be covering that, and yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. All right, yeah, boys, peace.